Welcome to Something Crunchy. Tyler is homies with Blake. Blake is the older bro of Blair. Blair is married to Tyler and is a slutty slut.
Welcome to Something Crunchy.
What the hell is crunchy?
Welcome to Something Crunchy. Welcome to another special edition episode of Something Crunchy. I am Cullen Blake. With me, as always, Blair and Tyler Dressel. Hi. Could not be more excited to bring on our very crunchy guest joining us today. He's an actor, comedian, writer, director, producer, a 4-time Emmy Award winner, has written over 100 episodes for The Simpsons and other popular shows like Frasier, Malcolm in the Middle, and George Lopez. Please welcome Jay Kogen. Welcome to Something Crunchy. Thank you for joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. You know, I don't know if your audience is aware of this applause, but there is a COVID pandemic going on. Those people should be separated and wearing masks.
Safety first, of course.
Safety first.
So this is going to be released on Super Bowl Sunday. Will you be watching the game?
I probably will be watching the game, but sadly, I'll just be watching it alone or trying to drag my son and my wife to watch it with me. My guess is it may just be me watching alone.
We'll be doing the same thing over here. So who do you like in this one?
I have a money down on the Chiefs.
Money down on the Chiefs.
See, I would probably say the same.
You know,
3.5, they got that.
The smart football fan in me says never bet against Tom Brady, even though you just want to every year. But
it's not even want to. It's just listen. It's got to be a close game. It seems like it's going to be a close game.
Yeah.
The Chiefs just performed very, very well, and you know, the odds makers are telling me that you know, that the Chiefs are favored. So let the Chiefs be
I'm
favored.
with you.
The good money is betting on the returning champs. I definitely agree. I mean, and who wants to see the Tampa Bay Patriots win this year?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Whatever. It's all. Tom Brady's very good quarterback. I complain about many things about Tom Brady, but he's actually quite good. So
of course,
yeah. So let him be a good quarterback. I mean, he doesn't. He should spend time doing that and staying out of politics. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Agreed.
just play more football.
Well said.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you a big fan? Is there any teams that you follow?
I'm a Dodger fan. I'm a Los Angeles Dodger fan. I grew up, I was born in Brooklyn and moved to Los Angeles just like the Dodgers did. And I am a big Dodger fan. I like the Lakers. I'm not a big Rams fan or any of the LA football team fans. Football, I'm just betting on. And to me, that they're just pieces of meat to be moved around from uniform to uniform.
Right.
So you grew up in Encino and your father in the industry. You have some pretty epic stories because of this. I heard that there was a summer growing up you had every one of the Jackson kids, including Michael and Janet, in your home because your dad was producing their summer special and you guys had hosted their premiere party. Is that right?
Yes, it wasn't the whole summer. They weren't coming one at a time. They all came together as a group because my dad had a party. So yes, that I did know the Jacksons briefly cool. And not well, but they lived in the neighborhood. They were Encino family. Their Jacksons lived down the street.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a little bit fucking awesome. The closest most come to that is quoting the Goonies.
I know some people from the Goonies, but you know, they're the Jacksons. Michael Jackson lived down the street from our local market, Gelson's, and so we'd see him. I'd see him at the Mike's Pizza place and also at Gelson's in general. And then every now and then he'd come to my house.
Wow. So like, how old were you when this happened, and how old were they when this happened, or Michael specifically?
Well, Michael's a little bit older than me, so I guess I was within molesting age. But he didn't touch me.
I think Blake almost just spit out all of his beer when he said that.
Worst timing for me to take a sip. It's
sorry.
stuck in my chest.
Yeah, but I was like, 10 or something, 10 or 11.
Yeah, that is right in that age.
Exactly. And they were older. Most of the Jacksons were older. The only one who was kind of my age was a kid named Randy Jackson.
Okay.
Who was about my age.
Randy.
Okay, so Randy. So they were still Jackson 5 at that point, not quite the Jacksons, right?
They were called the Jacksons at that time. I think it was the Jackson Summer Show because they incorporated their brothers and sisters, like Randy Jackson, who was the sixth Jackson brother, would be there. And then there's Reedy and LaToya and Janet. Mm-hmm. And all the Jacksons were in it. Everybody.
That was just a couple years before their epic live album. Then that was a good album.
I'm not incredibly familiar with their oeuvre, but the Jackson 5, it's delicious ear candy. I mean, I Want You Back
really
has never gotten bad.
It really is
all great, and Michael Jackson's recordings are great. But can you separate the artist from the art?
Sure. Absolutely.
I still love R. Kelly. I mean,
I was watching a Kevin Spacey movie just last night, thinking that exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you feel bad, knowing that some of that money is going to a bad guy, maybe?
Of course I do, but I mean, I could rationalize myself in and out of everything. Like, what I watch is no different.
All right. Well, I mean, maybe you examine your life a little bit more in your decisions. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I should be a little more conscious to it, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's different. It's different. Like, if somebody says that, I don't know, some star from the 1930s was a complete jerk, and you go like, well, John Wayne was a racist or something like that.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore that, he's not getting that money. But right now there are people who might benefit or not benefit from your hard-earned dollar.
No, it's true. But at the same time, I'm also convinced that if you wanted to, you could find something you didn't like about
everybody
and make it public.
Yes, that is probably, that is absolutely true. So then the question is, separating the art from the artist. I agree with you, by the way, that you do separate the art from the artist. But I was just being devil's advocate because that's what I do.
No, that's true. And that's an appropriate conversation to have following up the Jacksons. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were there any other casual hangouts with global icons in those days?
I mean, well, it's not going to mean much. I don't even know how old you guys are.
30s.
But 30s. Okay, so you're probably too young to remember a show called The Carol Burnett Show.
Of course,
there was a show called.
Of course, we know Carol Burnett's show.
Well, and you were on Carol Burnett. You were on with Dean Martin and Bob Newhart.
Yeah, but I'm saying that when I was a kid, I was on all those shows. But when I was a kid, my dad worked on the Carol Burnett Show, and that's how I was on the Carol Burnett Show. And the fact that knowing people on the Carol Burnett Show was like knowing people from Saturday Night Live. It was like a huge, hip, crazy thing. And now those names are not huge, hip, and crazy. So it's sort of like. It's less exciting to people now, but at the time it was like, whoa, Carol Burnett and Tim Conway, wow!
I love Carol Burnett. Gotta be huge to meet her and know her.
She is awesome, by the way. She's a wonderful person.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, like I don't know what you and Blair's dad did for a living. What did he do?
That's funny you mentioned that. He was a labor relations consultant, very similar to a Simpsons episode.
Okay, so if he hung out with Cesar Chavez at any given point,
not that we're aware of, but could have.
It would have been really cool, right? It would have been like,
of course.
But it wouldn't have been remarkable because that's his gig, that's his thing. So any union. Either union head or union buster.
Of course, that's exactly right.
So I mean, this is what my dad hanging out with my dad's friends and my dad's associates was very cool, but not shocking, not crazy shocking.
Well, that's awesome. We got to get into The Simpsons. Shall we just go ahead and get it out of the way?
We have to.
Sure.
The Simpsons is the most successful television show in history. It was named Best Series of the entire 21st century by Time Magazine, and you wrote the first completed script for an episode. No big deal.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Hit me.
How often do you go to Time Magazine to figure out what to watch on TV?
Oh, man. Never.
There's Time Magazine's 10 best tonight. No, never, but... Yes, Time Magazine may have honored. Simpsons was a great show. So
you're telling me you're not proud of that?
You should. You're.
I'm proud of The Simpsons. I'm not proud of Time Magazine saying we're good. Like,
I can understand
I'm all right
that.
I'm all right with everybody else saying it, but it's like that seems like not the authority. Like if Car and Driver said the best show for Car and Driver, okay.
Tyler would agree for sure.
Give me somebody who looks at comedy shows and then decide.
Okay. Something Crunchy called this the best all-time series ever made.
There you go. All right. That means something.
That's how I
named it Something Crunchy.
And you wrote the first episode. And that's awesome. All right. So which Simpsons questions do you get asked most often?
They asked me about how did Mr. Burns get his name, or how was Smithers really black at first, or
really?
Is he gay?
Yeah.
Smithers
is definitely gay.
He did, and he
but
officially
he was
came
black.
out. Yep. But, he started off. I thought it was a mistake, that it was just like a production issue.
We wrote him as black.
Really?
We wrote him as a black guy, yeah. And then when we decided he's also gay, everybody said, he can't be black and gay.
You got to tone it down a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
One or the other.
So then we removed the black, and
Yeah.
then he just became gay.
All right, that is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
think
too.
he would have been fine black and gay, but I love how you did it.
Yeah, we did too much. They didn't want to back. It was early,
Media's
in the
different.
1990s.
Yeah.
Media, so to have not that many black characters on the show, but also then to have a black and gay seemed like a little bit too much. We also had Dr. Hibbert was one of my characters. It was also a woman, and they said Dr. Hibbert shouldn't be a woman. Dr. Hibbert should be black and a man.
Hibbert was a woman.
Ooh,
Yeah.
See, I love hearing all this. This is the good stuff.
Yeah.
Julia Hibbert was the wife. Was actually this actress named Julia Sweeney. So Julia Sweeney was married to this guy named Steve Hibbert. And so a friend of mine from the Groundlings, Julia Hibbert, I said, I'll name a character after you. So Julia Hibbert was the black woman doctor that we created. And then we decided, oh, no, it's got to be a man. And then it became Julius Hibbert.
Julius.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is
That's
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love learning all this now.
Okay, so and you could point to the show as a whole, obviously, because you were there from the beginning. But are there any other characters or specific places in Springfield that you could take pride in for specifically being your brainchild?
I created Burns and Smithers. I created I landed Krusty the Clown kind of existed before me, but
Nice.
we landed Krusty the Clown. It was like an idea before we did it. So I take a little credit for Krusty. I take credit for Lionel Hutz. I take credit for Nick Riviera, Dr. Nick.
Yeah, Dr. Nick. Hey, Dr. Nick.
Wow. Okay.
There's a Professor Frink. I mean, we have my partner and I, Wally Wolodarski, who wrote these scripts. So we created, I think I counted something like over 100 characters.
Oh my God,
that just sounds like the funnest thing in the world.
I'm so happy right now.
It was fun.
That had to have been just so much fun.
Wow.
It was hard work, but really fun. Like we were working very, very hard for the first 5 years, just creating stuff and figuring it out, and not knowing, at the beginning, not knowing it was going to be seen by anybody. But we worked really, really long hours and late nights all year round, not 52 weeks a year, to sort of make this stuff. And then they started figuring out, like, people need a vacation.
Right.
People need some time
need
off.
A break.
Can't work every day.
So about year 3, we started taking vacations, and then we were getting burnt out by then. So we left pretty well. By season 5, we were pretty well done.
Man.
Did you have any formal training or education before, or did you just figure out how to create these characters and write the scripts on your own, just as it goes?
Well, I mean, I went to college.
Nice.
I was formal training. So I read books. I've seen movies and TV shows. So my formal training was sort of, and my dad's a writer. So in the world of writing, it's just about, watching things and then writing.
Sure. Yeah, I love hearing you say that.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
That's inspiration to us.
Yeah, that's motivation.
I heard you say in an interview before that you, you went to school and you did a lot of training and this and that, but it was nothing that you didn't learn from watching movies and watching TV that helped you develop scripts and characters.
There's no, bona fide. Nobody asks you for your degree when you enter shows. If they say, show me your script, show me that, what it is. So all you have to do is sort of work hard on some good scripts and make sure they're funny and hone your craft. The more you write, the better you get, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of animation, I didn't have any animation experience until The Simpsons, but I didn't need any because it was just more writing. I didn't have to draw the characters. I just had to describe them. Sure. And then really talented artists drew them and animated them and made them beautiful. So it was a good team. So I didn't have to do much. I learned a lot about animation. I know a lot now. But.
Yeah, and as you were listing off those characters, I mean, you're listing off some of my favorites. First of all, I firmly believe that the writing for C. Montgomery Burns is the best writing in the show. That is the best writing is easy. For that character. You think it's easy? The dialogue?
Yes.
Wow.
Mr. Burns and Homer are the more fun, easier things to write.
Wow.
You can write an arch villain. Like Homer's easy because he's basically learning disabled. So
Yes.
if you can write dumb jokes for a bad character and get away with it. If you can write evil jokes for Mr. Burns and get away with it. And antiquated evil. So all you have to do is sort of combine great moments of history, early 1900s history, with arch evilness, and then you have Mr. Burns.
I
So if you
love
quote,
it.
You brought
quote some strange the Russian Revolution and brass knuckles, and then you have some version of Mr. Burns.
So who were your favorite characters to write for or to work into stories?
Oh, I mean, like I said, Homer, and it was very delightful. Mr. Burns was delightful. We used to write a lot of Lisa stories and Bart stories and Marge stories, but they're not the most fun to write because they take work and humanity and wisdom. and that takes time and effort to think about these things. Dr. Nick Riviera doesn't take any time at all. It's just a guy that's still, So that's those jokes are easier. The jokes are fun. The stories are hard. Jokes are fun. So making good stories is really fun.
Man, I love that. So I was looking at the episodes that you wrote. And there's several that just jump off the page, but one or two in particular, I just feel compelled to ask about. Any guesses on which I'm talking about?
I don't have any guesses. Some people have a interesting. I was told I was online not long ago on Twitter, people telling me that Homer's Odyssey was the worst episode of The Simpsons ever, which was one of the first episodes ever.
What?
And I was like, okay, well, sorry you feel that way.
I completely disagree.
I was going to say, I couldn't feel more opposite.
No,
about
the
that.
only negative thing I have to say about any one of your episodes was one I was watching the other night, which is Bart Gets an F. And the only negative I have is that it's way too relatable to me and my learning. It was just way too relatable. Like, it was like, this is
all right. Well, I mean, it's all. I like them all. I have my own favorites, but people love Last Exit to Springfield. A lot of people say that is their favorite episode of all time.
That's
and
what I
like
was
it.
Getting at. Last Exit.
I like
to
it. It's not my favorite, but I like a lot of people like it, and that's great.
It had jokes just constantly throughout it. It was a great episode. I completely get why everyone likes it. I like it personally because of all the labor relations involved in it. And it's something that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
Right. So I found it interesting for that. But what are some of your favorite episodes?
The ones I wrote, I mean, my favorite episode, the one I wrote, I always quote is Bart the Daredevil. I think that's my very favorite episode because it's an early episode. It still felt fresh. I like Truckosaurus. I like, there's a guy named Lance Majors, who is a Evel Knievel kind of stunt guy who winds up jumping over a pool of sharks and a lion. Like there's a lion swimming in with the water with the sharks, and then of course Lance Majors falls in and breaks every bone in his body, and is then attacked by a lion as he tries to get out, which is to me very funny. I also like there's another great moment in that episode where Homer's flying over a cliff. The Springfield Gorge.
That's right. That was that episode? That was like,
and
that's ingrained
saying,
in my
I'm
memory.
king of the world. And then he falls down the cliff. And he was very controversial and very hard to do because Matt Groening didn't want us to do it. And he said, no, we can't do this. That's old-timey cartoon bullshit. And we said, it's going to be funny. And he said, no, it's bad. I said, he's going to get hurt as he goes down the mountain. He said, no, we're not doing it. And then the other executive producer of the show, Sam Simon, actually said, no, we're going to do it. And there was a big fight between them, and we got to do it. And it's a great sequence, and it's one of the best sequences ever in the history of the Simpsons. And if we almost didn't do it.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah,
me too. I mean, I love it. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written in my life. It's just the cliff. We're king of the world, and then not making it, falling down the cliff, getting rescued by the helicopter, and the helicopter dashing him into the cliff as he's going, getting put into the ambulance, finally getting rescued, and then that ambulance hits a tree, is falling out of it, and going right back down the cliff. Like, to me, that's Buster Keaton worthy. That's beautiful.
So good.
Was Buster Keaton worthy?
Yeah.
Slapstick, it's highbrow. I love it.
I have a feeling.
Yeah, he was in the hospital. He did get hurt. We acknowledged that very painful to fall down a cliff.
I have a feeling most people would say Mr. Plow was the most iconic episode that you had anything to do with.
I agree. Fabulous episode.
What is it about the Mr. Plow episode that made it so memorable and iconic? With the song?
Yeah, I guess it's the song. I mean, it's the whole vibe of the whole show. Like, you know, it's you know, being caught up with a product.
It is.
It's great.
Let's talk about the amount of people who believe The Simpsons is a crystal ball that predicts the future.
Oh, yeah.
I lean more on the side of eventuality when having decades of subject matter published and over 800 episodes. But there is
wise.
Yeah, but there is something to the volume of things that have come true, and also how seemingly rare some of them have been. I mean, Siegfried and Roy, the Trump presidency, Ebola, even the Disney merger.
10,000 monkeys with typewriters, you know? I mean, what can you do? It's like we're making 22 to 24 episodes a year. They're, you know, the joke per minute ratio is massive. Some of those stupid ideas are going to become real things.
So you believe,
That's
like I do, that if you just did any show with that much subject matter and that many years of material, it's just going to overlap that way no matter what?
Yeah, any show any show that's listening to the society and the culture and making fun of famous people, famous people, weird things are going to happen to famous people. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Trump was famous, and then he became president. And no one predicted it. We couldn't have predicted it. It seems like the stupidest thing on earth, and then it actually happened.
Craziest thing, though. That is just
we thought of the most wild thing. It just happened to come true.
It really is mind blowing.
What's the dumbest thing you can think of?
Exactly.
Dumb Trump being president. And then there it is. So, not our fault. No, we had the wisdom.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's great. I understand the Simpsons were created yellow in order to attract channel surfers and get people to stop on those bright colors. And it definitely worked. I would get into like a trance watching it when I was young. Were there any other intentional design concepts, visual or otherwise, that had a specific use like
if you
this?
look at the original Simpsons to what they became on the show, and the ones on the Tracy Ullman show, they were much pointier.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
They got rounded out.
They were much more sketched.
Yeah. Bart, I think, is based on, and this is not my design, I didn't do it, but Matt Groening. I think Bart is basically based on Charlie Brown. There's a version of Bart's head and haircut, and it's basically a modern day version of Charlie Brown. The sort of Charlie Brown has a shirt that has, you know,
the yellow shirt with
serrated,
the
yeah, serrated. That's
print.
the head top that's the top of Bart's head. And
Oh my gosh.
I believe.
That's cool.
And I believe Homer's also kind of Charlie Brownish. So I mean, this is
they have the same haircut.
They had like the one hair.
Yeah, exactly. So you got Matt Groening, who loves Charles Schultz and Peanuts. Sort of saying, let's trying to do that instead of telling the people who are actually drawing it, you know, how to do it. And you know, he was very involved in character design and all that stuff. So the look of the show, those primary colors and all that stuff. A lot of that is from Matt, and then some of it's from Sam. But Matt knows his animation, man. He didn't want. At a certain point, when at the beginning of the show, Homer was, or the Tracy Ullman show actually, Homer used to grab Bart's throat and choke him, and their faces used to sort of elongate when that happened.
Yes.
And Matt was very upset about that. So do not elongate their heads. Their heads just remain the same size, no matter what happens. So,
well, their head shape used to change a lot. Like even when they would walk and talk, their heads would move a lot more. And yeah, that definitely changed. Okay, that's interesting. And I love learning this behind the scenes stuff.
This is the good
I love
stuff.
learning about the Charlie Brown connection and like, you know, things like how, you know, Homer's head, you can see the M and G.
Right.
I mean, is there any other things like that specifically tied to
I mean, the Simpsons, we were never allowed to draw them straight on. They're always at a 3/4 profile.
Oh.
So you see their nose.
Yep.
And you see there's it's very rare where you have a flat close up of any of the characters. Usually it's got to be like the characters looking a quarter one right or a quarter left.
Oh, I can't wait to watch more.
I know.
Even though we already watch Simpsons like every day, I'm still.
Yeah. I can only think of Homer's face on.
I can't even see a face on.
I don't think so. I mean, most of the time he's like a little bit
Yeah, maybe
tilted
so.
to the right or
Only
left.
in
You
like
can see his
extreme
nose,
rare occasions where it's
Yeah.
like intentional. But no, I think I know exactly
Right.
what you're talking about.
or his head is tilted down, but
Yeah.
very rarely is it flat.
Oh, yeah.
Homer straight on his face.
All right. Last Simpsons question.
Yep, sure.
Homer's middle name tied to you
Yes.
in any way?
Well, I gave them all the middle initial J.
Yeah.
Yay!
So
Homer J. Simpson, Bartholomew J. Simpson, I believe Abraham's, the grandfather's middle initial J.
I love
and
that.
I did it not for me, not to honor me, but to honor Bullwinkle J. Moose.
Ooh.
Nice.
The
Rocky
Bullwinkle
Bullwinkle.
characters. Yeah, exactly. Rocket J. Squirrel and Bullwinkle J. Moose. So that to me was a nod to this other great cartoon that existed for adults before us.
That's really cool.
That is amazing. I suspected that may have been the case. That's awesome. Wait,
Somebody's been doing some research.
a little bit.
Blake's been doing Simpsons research since like Simpsons began.
1991.
All right.
All right, well, I cannot wait to get into more, but before we do, let's take a break. This episode of Something Crunchy is brought to you by Quantum Week. Quantum Week is a podcast that takes a random week over the past 41 years and they break down the movies, music, and headlines that made that week unique. Recently, they have reviewed movies like Mean Girls, Beetlejuice, and Top Gun, and discussed music by Katy Perry, Hootie and the Blowfish, and Drake. Episodes are released frequently, and you can find Quantum Week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and all other podcast listening platforms. Go pick a week and get started.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Something Crunchy, and I hope you're enjoying the episode. It now pays to crunch down every week because we're hooking you up with big discounts from big brands. Up to 35% off Invicta watches using code CRUNCHY and apparel from 8080, where in addition to 10% off using code CRUNCHY, every dollar you spend goes toward an entry into the Dream Car giveaway. Don't forget to join the Something Crunchy Facebook group for updates, polls, and the web's crunchiest memes. You can find us on Twitter at crunch_cast, and feel free to send any questions and your track submissions to somethingcrunchy@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
And we're back. Crunching down with Mr. J. Kogen. You have written a lot for TV, Frasier, Malcolm in the Middle, some really big shows. You've also worked in film. Just actually rewatched The Wrong Guy the other day. It still holds up.
Bless you. That's one of my favorite things I ever did.
And so does Jennifer Tilly. Like that was,
Yes.
she's amazing.
She's a national treasure.
She really is. All right, so let's talk about that. It was very 1997, meaning that it was perfect for the time. Like in 97, that was every joke hit. That was the perfect style of humor to use. That was absolutely great.
Right.
I absolutely love that. And that one, you wrote that, and you didn't direct it, but you produced it, you wrote it, and you acted in it. You were the bus driver too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I gave myself a little part. I try not to. But I mean, I didn't mind that because I was there. I was stuck in Canada, or not stuck, but had the pleasure of being in Canada, but for several months. So that moment I could do something on camera was kind of fun for me. But I try not. I am an actor, but I'm not a great actor. So I try not to cast myself in stuff because I'm not great, and B, I'm taking a job away from another person. So and I'm already working. So
That's very courteous
I don't need
of you.
both
That's a
jobs.
good reason.
But I failed on the Wrong Guy. I gave myself that bus driver.
It's fun seeing you pop up.
You have also been the script doctor on many of the Mike Myers movies that everyone loves, and we have to talk about this. I mean, writing comedy, punching up, and doctoring scripts. This is honestly my dream job.
Yeah, that sounds so fun.
First, explain to our audience what a script doctor is, and for us, how do you become one? Do I need to go to script medical school first to become a script doctor?
You must.
Is there a residency that goes along with that? Like 4 years?
Yeah. The residency is be on something popular. It's like, honestly, just find yourself in a very lucky position where you're on something popular like The Simpsons, and then have people who like comedy say, get me a Simpsons writer. And then if you're one of the Simpsons writers, you can say, I'll do it. And then that's how you become a script doctor. So really, it's really based, all these things are based on reputation and credits. So, right now, I don't know what the hottest comedy show is, but whatever the hottest comedy show is, that somebody is getting a job as a script doctor based on that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So which Mike Myers movies
and
did you work on?
I worked on the Shrek movies. I think all of the Shrek movies, or most of them. I worked on the Austin Powers movies and the Love Guru, the very famous Love Guru, which was not quite as good as the others, or not well as perceived. But yeah, I mean, a lot of things. And I wasn't alone. There's lots of people writing jokes for Mike, and Mike is also writing jokes for Mike. So it's not like he is devoid of jokes. He's got lots of jokes. He's a great writer too.
Blair calls me Jacques the Coq Grande in the bedroom all the time.
Really? And you're still talking? Good. Good for you. Your marriage is strong. It sounds like you've got a good bond.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, thick bond.
Good.
I also understand that you worked on the Nutty Professor.
I did. That was fun. I mean, listen, my partner and I, Wally Wolodarski, as I say, we're coming off The Simpsons, and people said, we want Simpsons writers. So we got to work on a bunch of these things. And I remember there's a scene in the also in this is true of an Austin Powers movie, where I said, don't do it. It's not going to work. And it was the biggest joke of the movie.
Oh, do you remember?
In the Nutty Professor, there's a dream sequence where Professor Clump is dreaming that he's like Godzilla going through a big city, and then
for sure,
100%.
He farts and then knocks down a city, and I was like, that's gross. Don't do that. And then it's the biggest laugh in the whole movie, and
really?
So I was wrong about that.
See, I didn't know. I didn't think so. Had I been in that room with you, I would have agreed with you. I did not. I thought it was like
it was a good fart.
I thought it kind of took away from everything that was going. I did not love that scene.
I did too at the time, but I've seen it with an audience. And part of being a comedy writer is
writing for the audience,
knowing that you don't know. The main thing is you don't know shit. So everybody has their own opinion. You only know what you think is funny.
Yeah, you don't know it's going to be a hit with everybody.
I would have sided with you 100% on that. Yeah. And that is from a movie that has laughs every 2 seconds. Yeah. And when I say that is our dad's favorite movie, I mean that to a degree that you can't possibly fathom. Like, we all love that movie.
Probably can't.
Everyone loves that movie. That's to a different degree.
Well, you probably watched your father guffaw at the fart joke, and then maybe you questioned your own sense of family.
That table scene drives him to tears every time.
Oh, good for him. Well, there you go. You never know. So all that's great, and my contribution to Nutty Professor is minimal compared to the people that wrote the original screenplay and everybody else. But it was fun to be a part of it. And the same is true with the Austin Powers movies, which were written by really great people and smart people. And there was one joke in there where I think the second one, Austin is in a lab and he winds up like tasting what is basically a beaker of boiled shit.
Yes.
I was like, probably don't do that. I mean,
that was
isn't that bad
gross.
For the character?
It was a bit gross.
What are we saying about the character? He said, that's going to be funny. I was like, all right, Mike, at that point, you don't question Mike Myers. Mike Myers says it's going to be funny, so let it be funny. And then he's right most of the time, so there you go.
I thought that was a little bit gross.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
So, too gross for me. And I'm not like gross jokes. It's like the two things I pointed to were gross, but I love gross jokes.
We
love gross jokes.
Yeah, vomit scenes and gross things and poop jokes. I have no problem with any of that stuff. It's just sometimes it doesn't feel like it's the right time and place. And
I get that.
So that's it. So sometimes I'm wrong.
We pretty much made a podcast based on all that stuff. So, all right.
And why is it crunchy?
Something crunchy. All right. So
great question.
First, this was a band. This was like a mediocre bar band for a couple years,
okay.
like way back when.
You were in.
And that I was in. I was the bass player of this band, and it was a good band. I was just like by far the weakest link of this band, the least talented member.
Right.
But even though I was the weakest link, I was still the one unifying person that everyone knew. Like everyone kind of knew each other through me, so I kind of became the leader, which all that meant for us was to get us back on track and not make such stony spacey stuff and like kind of get everyone on the same page. So I'd constantly
What kind of music were you trying to make? Who was the band? Who are the bands that you were like looking at as your idols?
Well, see, this was interesting because we all had different influences. We had a really talented guitarist and a really talented keyboardist that were both kind of like classic rock, more like standard rock stuff. We had a DJ and a drummer who were more like hip hop influenced and more like hip hop rock stuff. And I'm kind of like a utility player, can do it all. Everything's my style. So it was kind of like, if I had to compare it to any other band, I'd say it was kind of on its way to like a Tool type of thing, kind of a perfect circle, kind of like spacey rock, I'd say.
All right. That's good. I like that.
We weren't very good.
But you were the shitty version of Tool.
Exactly. We were the shitty version of Tool. And we did a bunch of covers and stuff. We were like a party rock band. I worked in a club at the time, and we had a night there that we did every week. And so anyway, where the name came from was I was constantly getting everybody back together, getting everyone on the same page. Come on, guys. I need something snappy, need something crunchy, crunchy. Come on. Said it enough. They finally decided to name the band that. And we were thinking of a name for the podcast. Blair thought, well, we should use that. That was good. It goes with our flow. That was like a
I like turning crunchy into an adjective where it's just like the best way to describe something.
And it
like,
was one back in the day.
Good and crunchy.
That was like an 80s, 90s term. And we do big in this, the nostalgia, sector.
Revamp.
And so we're kind of bringing it back.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, I'm satisfied. Now my podcast can be complete. My research for you guys.
Perfect.
So you're a comedian, improv guy, and a character developer at your core, and you taught me something really interesting when it comes to comedy writing. I've been writing stand-up comedy for a couple years now, but exclusively in my own style for my voice, my timing, and all. And you highlighted the importance of writing jokes for others and to practice writing jokes for other comedians. You said like some that Rodney Dangerfield would use, and then write as if you're doing a Don Rickles set and so on. That was excellent advice. And you said it's the exact same tool that you would sharpen for developing characters. Any other words of wisdom for writing stand-up or writing comedy in general like that? Well,
I mean, stand-up is very specific. I mean, if you're writing for yourself, then great. But I mean, you're figuring out who you're presenting yourself as. Like you are already a person, so that's fine. But you have to sort of figure out your comedy persona. Like, and that's really hard.
Yeah.
To like figure out like who am I? Like, John Mulaney is not that guy who stands on stage and talks the way John Mulaney talks on stage. That's his comedy persona.
Sure.
I think on a Tuesday he's not talking that way and being he's just eating a sandwich. But here, he decided this is his comedy persona. He's gonna talk that way and stand that way and tell jokes, in a sort of little verbose way, and it's great, perfect choice. You have to figure out what you're doing, and so if I want, because he has developed a really good persona, I think I could listen to him and try to write jokes in his voice. I could write jokes in the voice of Sarah Silverman, or it's other people who have specific points of view and styles of talking. Yeah, exactly.
But see, that is a skill on its own, is like finding that persona and being able to like put yourself in that persona to write jokes for it. And I get what you're saying. I'm like,
because they become characters. So you just notice them as characters. Like, John Mulaney is sort of like a very sort of fussy, almost gay young New Yorker.
So you're saying Andrew Dice Clay doesn't talk like that?
Talk about a character. That guy, that guy created this amazing, weird, Fonzie character that made it a household name. So good for him.
Larry the Cable Guy.
Like
perfect example.
Andrew Schneider or something. Yeah. Larry the Cable Guy is another good example. That guy's name is not Larry.
Dan, Mr. Dan.
and he's Dan, and he's not a doofus from he's a smart guy who figured out a very funny sort of
shtick
on being sort of like this sort of backwoodsy dumb cable guy.
But
so great.
Yeah, that's such a good skill to have, and that's something I really need to put some time into, because I could write comedy all day for me, but I can't immediately go into do redneck jokes for Larry the Cable Guy and then do Sarah Silverman jokes. Like that's really good. So that was excellent advice.
Right. So it helps. But that's also good for writing characters. So if you're writing a show like Malcolm in the Middle or Frasier or Simpsons or something that was in this century, you might find, Schitt's Creek or Curb Your Enthusiasm
Love Schitt's Creek.
You want to write in the voice of those characters. There are some shows that don't strike me as their characters don't have specific voices. Almost anybody can say anything and it'd be fine. Like, I don't know if we watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but any one of those characters seems to talk interchangeably with the other one.
That's
it's more about what happened. It's all about plot-driven bad
the situation.
behavior.
That's a good point. The dialogue is almost interchangeable between them.
So is it a big difference?
Go ahead.
I was going to say the big difference between you've done adult humor, but you've done kind of more general humor, Nickelodeon, things like that. Like, what's the difference?
On Nickelodeon, I can't say cocksucker. That's the main thing. And everything else
frowned upon, typically.
Yeah, that makes that shit so much better.
Henry Danger had more of that.
Yeah. There's physical, kids don't do verbal jokes because they don't know a lot of words. So you can't do a lot of verbal jokes.
Sure.
You do a lot of straightforward jokes. You do a lot of reversal situations, bad situations. You do a lot more physical jokes. Things explode more, and there's more stunts and stuff and that kind of stuff because their palette of what they like and what they know is like slightly different. So it makes it different, and you can't say certain things, and you can't touch stuff like sex or drugs or that kind of stuff. But in a regular adult show, you can, and that's fine. So that's and I like being able to do, the world I see, and the world I see does include those.
I'm sure it's way easier to do adult where the door's open to just go anywhere with it.
It's also easier. There's a lot of restrictions of what you can and can't say in kids.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Kids TV in general is just much harder.
Oh yeah,
it's much harder to make a good kids TV show. There's so many restrictions. And actually, just the physical making of a show that has so many stunts and so many is just much bigger and harder.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, Mr. Kogen, before we get you out of here, what's next? Any exciting projects coming up, Punky Brewster, or in the works that we should know about?
Punky Brewster is about to launch. I was part of that. I don't know how exciting that is, but
that's awesome. Exciting. That was a big thing.
A reboot. Yes. Well, there you go. Well, you'll like the new reboot.
Pumped about Punky Brewster. Hell yes.
All right. Well, then
lots of people are going to be excited about that. We're going to punky it up.
I did not watch Punky Brewster growing up, so I did not have the love of Punky.
What was her name? Soleil Moon?
Yeah, something like that.
Soleil Moon Frye.
Soleil Moon Frye.
Soleil Moon Frye.
That was right at my age. I did grow up with Punky.
Blake remembers that very clearly.
She was my jam.
I just wrote the pilot for the revival of iCarly as an adult show.
Cool.
Oh, so that was super popular. That'll be huge.
Yes. Carly is coming. Carly and her friends are now in their 20s, so it's more like Friends.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Kogen coming with some iCarly.
Exactly. And then I did this podcast, so that's it. And you're up to date.
And you got Crunchy, so there's like so much you have going on.
Yeah,
makes my day.
Something Crunchy.
Well, let me tell you something that I am sure you've never heard before. The Simpsons is my favorite series ever made. The show means a great deal to me, and thank you greatly for your part in creating something that means so much to so many.
Thank you for liking it.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Of course. We love your work. You have been such an awesome guest, and we really appreciate you coming on, Mr. Kogen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend, and hopefully we can talk again sometime.
Yeah,
Thanks,
anytime.
Jay.
This has been great.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, he was our ish right there.
Okay, that was like the coolest.
Our kind of guest. God, that Simpsons segment. I just had the biggest smile on my face for 30 minutes.
You ought to be so happy.
I'm so happy.
This has been a dream for you.
Well, and he's doing exactly what I want to be
for
doing.
sure.
Right.
He's doing what everybody. Why would you not want to do everything he's doing? That's so fun.
It's my dream job.
Damn, that was fun. Why aren't we doing that, y'all?
Well, I'm motivated to write some shit. I'm going to send it over to Jay.
We have to write some shit.
Yeah.
Let's reach out to Jay and be like, dude,
punch it up.
Everyone says we need to like write a bunch of shit. Like, why don't you just tell us what you want to write? Like,
we'll
what you want us to write.
Give us a subject, we'll write it.
We'll write it for you. Tell us if it's shit. We got some authos. We got some synthetic sequels. Blair! Who's going to win the big game today?
I think it's going to be the Chiefs.
You're going Chiefs.
I'm going Chiefs. I'm sticking with Texas Tech Mahomes.
They're the big winner at the casino tonight?
I think he's the big winner.
Close game?
I do think it'll be close. I do. With Tom Brady, I mean, he's won enough.
High scoring, low scoring.
High scoring.
Biscuits.
Oh,
Who you got?
I like the Bucks
You're going with the Tampa Bay Patriots.
Really?
by 7.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes has a chance to win it on the final drive, and he doesn't get it done. Throws a pick.
Huge prediction. I love that you went for it. You actually
Whoa.
threw out a scenario. Whoa.
Yep. Throws a pick to end the game.
Whoa.
Bucks win by 7.
Bucks win by 7.
Have the Bucks won before?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Once.
Well, once.
Yeah. With Gruden.
03, 04, something like that.
What do you think?
I think Tyler should have placed our bet today. We had this awesome Sicky lined up bet. Was going to pay for some even more new equipment. Had it all lined up. All right, so here's what we were going to do. We had a nice little parlay. Didn't even need us to go for one team or the other. It didn't even matter if it was high scoring or low scoring. We were going to parlay Kelsey to get 90 yards, Evans to get 60 yards, plus P. Holmes to rush for 25. We got it. We got it.
Easy money. And I fucking blew it.
Oh,
You blew it.
I got up too early. The sports book was fucking closed, and I had to leave.
He literally drove to Nevada to go place his bet.
I was in the car for 9 hours yesterday just to place this fucking bet.
who knew they wouldn't open
And
early?
was there, went super early to go place it. They didn't open. He had to rush to get back for work. Couldn't even place the bet. Sick to my stomach.
Barely made it here on time.
Sick to my stomach.
Now I'm scared to see what happens in this game.
No, let's talk bets. This was really fun last year. I bet that during the halftime show, The Weeknd does an auto-tuned lip sync to Blinding Lights.
Hey.
Any takers?
You know what?
I like that.
Any takers?
You're right on that.
I also bet there's a weird Mike Myers and Dana Carvey Super Bowl commercial where they do a Wayne's World again, but it looks all old and makes you feel old, and we're all kind of old now.
And you're like, they're just way too old.
Loose skin, old
Balls.
balls.
I bet you there's going to be a real sad Budweiser commercial in there someplace.
I heard Budweiser's not doing a Super Bowl
What?
commercial or not doing a horse-related Super Bowl
No.
commercial. I don't think they're doing a Super Bowl commercial.
Doritos, Budweiser, like always.
Staples.
Yeah, these are the things we
yes.
need. I need to cry over some Clydesdales.
Give me some Clydesdale. That's
Yeah.
what I'm here for.
If we're not crying over Clydesdales, what are we doing here?
That's what Super
Not the
Bowl's all
fucking
about.
Super
That,
Bowl.
that truly is the best Super Bowl commercial of all time.
Of
Yes,
all
it is.
time.
Yes, it is.
Agree.
Blair, if I remember correctly, you were the one that guessed the right color of the Gatorade dumped on the coach after the game last year.
Yes. Totally nailed it with orange.
You did.
Knew it.
You won the bet. You guessed orange. You were correct. How do you feel about it this year?
I'm changing my color.
What?
I do think that orange is like the OG.
Orange is projected highest.
Okay.
Plus
I have
25 for
reason-
orange odds.
I have reasoning for my change.
Okay.
I'm going to go to red
Ooh, because it's Chiefs.
because it's Chiefs and it's Tampa Bay.
But that was the same thing last year. 49ers and Chiefs, both red. That was what I said. That was what I went red, and it didn't work.
Well, then you go with orange. I'll go with red and see what happens.
Going yellow.
Well, no. I think I maybe went yellow. I think
I think you went OG.
I think I went OG lemon lime, actually.
Yeah.
Is it yellow, green, yellow, yellow?
Yellow.
I think I'm going to go OG lemon lime this year again and go down with the ship with my same
Is that what you're doing, Tyler?
Oh, no.
Where
No.
are you going with it?
Fucking purple.
purple.
Whoa.
You're just going
You're
out of
crazy.
the blue.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Okay.
Weird.
Purple is at plus 600 right now. You can make some cheese off of purple.
This is like an actual bet. Like people
Already
make
have.
a lot of money off
Oh
of
no,
Gatorade.
this is like a real thing.
So I could have made a lot of money off of orange Gatorade last
Yeah,
year.
you could have made some money.
Fucking Arizona. Get your shit together. Let us bet on some
Let me bet
goddamn
on some
sports.
shit.
All right, so here's just a couple fun prop bets. How many times will Bill Belichick be mentioned?
Oh
Over-
man.
Over one time?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
One under 175, and then we have under one time plus 135.
It'll definitely be at least one time.
12.
Say at least 3 to 5
Yeah.
mentions.
It'll be a couple times. Definitely over one. That's a
So
bet.
I'm gonna say
Like, that's
3
a
to
bet.
5 mentions.
Like
That's an easy bet.
I don't know if it'll be 3 to 5. Like they're not going to mention it that much. It depends on what's happening in the game. Okay, which word will be said first? COVID or pandemic?
Pandemic.
COVID.
Wow, plus 300
I'm
for
thinking
pandemic.
COVID all day.
Minus 500 for COVID.
-5.
Wow. Which word will be said first? Mask or COVID?
Mask.
Yeah, minus 300 for mask.
Yeah.
200 for COVID, because it could be face mask.
I know. I'm thinking of a lot of different masks.
He grabbed him
And-
by the mask.
Every person that goes to the Super Bowl gets like a personal sanitation pack,
So
a
they have to
Super
wear-
Bowl pack that has a face mask, hand sanitizer. It's got like a bunch of shit in there.
A super mask?
Yeah.
That's cool.
You should save that stuff. If you guys
For
are going to the game to
sure.
get that,
Do they always give out a Super Bowl fun pack?
no, this is
no.
due to the pandemic. So like this shit's going to be
You're
worth
paying extra for that.
major cheddar someday.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be the first Corona Bowl and the first time that a team will host their own Super Bowl. Should be an interesting
yeah.
one.
This is the first time that's
Yeah.
happening.
Oh, yeah. Should be an interesting one.
No players at the game. No former players are allowed to be there because they don't want to draw the
Yeah.
crowds to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So how many people are going to be in the stands? It's not going to be full.
Well, I don't know how many people they're letting in, but there's no ex-players are allowed to go because they think ex-players brings more fans. Even if they're not getting into the game, they might, hang out downtown and try and see
Really?
more players that are hanging out. So
Okay.
all the retired Hall of Famers not allowed to go.
Whoa.
Not even allowed in Florida.
Damn.
Don't even come to the
They just
state.
don't even come.
If you live here, you got to leave.
It's a Super Bowl bubble.
What? Leave the state.
Go to Georgia. Go on. Get out of here.
Go on now. Well, pumped for the game. And damn, Jay was a fun.
Yeah, he was
Oh, that
awesome.
was so fun.
God, he was
That was
awesome.
good times.
Good times, good
That was so
interview.
cool.
This has been another super episode of Something Crunchy. Don't ever forget to live your crunchiest life.
And be crunchy to one another.
Please don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and all that crunchy good shit. Thank you for listening.
Oh, my mother painted that for me? Oh my god. My middle name is right behind that shrub. I'll finally know what J stands for. From this moment forth, I will be known as Homer J. Simpson. It's so beautiful.